crispy crumbed pork cutlets sandwiched with a Japanese barbecue sauce and fluffy white bread. This is the ultimate pork sandwich. It's Katsu Sando. Okay, so I am all about crispy, crunchy things in sandwiches. What could be better? So we are going to do a crumbed pork version today and in a very Japanese style. So the first thing we're going to do though is just this little tiny trick that's going to keep your pork really moist, and that is to dry brine it. So I'm going to sprinkle my pork, and what I've got here is just some pork loin cutlets. They're around about 1 centimeter, 1.5 centimeters thick, so they're quite thin. We're going to do a double pork sandwich, so I'm going to double these guys up, so I don't want them too thick. Now, dry salting or dry brining, so I'm going to sprinkle these very liberally with some salt. And you would have heard of wet brining, so this is a similar thing but a little quicker, and we're just going to do it with the dry salt. So I'm going to turn these over and make sure we get salt on all sides. And then what I want you to do is be a little bit patient and leave these guys for at least 15 minutes, 15 or 20 minutes, and come back and I'll show you how our pork is transformed. Okay, so if we have a look, you can see the salt has dissolved, which means we've gone some way to getting a little bit of that saline water into our pork, keeping them juicy and keeping them perfectly seasoned. Okay, so that is our first step for getting the ultimate fried pork cutlet. The second part is we're going to do our crumbing. So I have a regular crumbing station set up here, flour, I want some eggs, just give those a whisk. Now, I prefer the dry hand, wet hand situation when I'm crumbing. That keeps my fingers a little bit cleaner than they would if I just went in there with both hands. So grab my pork with my wet hand and then use my dry hand to get the flour spread out all over. Okay, shake off the excess into my egg, and then your wet hand comes along and douses everything in the egg. Okay. Allow that to drip off, and then into your Panko breadcrumbs. So these are Japanese style breadcrumbs. I love them. They're really nice and light and crispy and fluffy, and you can find them in the Asian section of most supermarkets these days. Okay, and there we go. There's one of our pork cutlets done. Now on to the rest. Okay, now I've got some hot oil around about sort of 1 centimeter deep in my pan. Just gonna get my pork cutlets straight in there. Now I just want a gentle sizzle here. I don't want to be too harsh because I want a really beautiful even golden color, and I want to make sure the pork cooks through as well. Now after just a minute or so, I'm going to flip these guys over. They're not quite ready on that first side, but what I want to do is keep flipping them over from time to time to make sure that we're getting that even golden color. If I just let them sit in the one spot in the pan, you tend to get kind of little brown hot spots on your cutlets. Okay, and again, flipping them over. So once you have a beautiful golden brown, even color, just take them out and drain them on paper towel. And as with anything that comes out of the hot oil, I like to season with a bit more salt. Not too much because they are beautifully seasoned inside our little pork cutlets. And so now we come to the sandwich part. Now I'm really lucky because here in Bangkok I live right near a Japanese bakery, so I can find this beautiful thick, fluffy Japanese style bread. If you've got a Japanese supermarket nearby, head there and see if they've got some beautiful bread. Otherwise, just go for a really thick cut, white toast size bread. Okay, so put that down. And I just want a little bit of butter, edge to edge. Very particular about my sandwich construction. And now here is one essential condiment for this dish, and that is Japanese Tonkatsu sauce. And it's basically like, to me, a Japanese version of barbecue sauce. That's what it tastes like. And it has the most amazing, sweet, tangy flavor. You can find it in a lot of major supermarkets now in the Asian section or from your Japanese grocer. And I want a very liberal dousing of that bread. Okay, now just spread that out. And what should happen here is the bread and some of the crumbing on the pork cutlets will soak up some of this sauce and get really nice and tasty. Now I like to add a little bit of shaved cabbage just on the bottom. And now time for our pork cutlets. So one piece on there. And then this is totally not traditional Katsu Sando, but I am going to add a double layer of the pork today, just because I can. I'm going to put a little bit more sauce on top of that first cutlet, Add my second cutlet. So over the top, I love it. Okay, and then I want to finish off with another slice of bread. Let's put some butter on there, and we need more sauce. And now, because traditionally a Japanese Katsu Sando would be a little bit squished, doesn't sound great, but that's kind of the word. But what we want to do is put a tray on top here. I've got a couple of bowls on to weight it down, and we're just sort of pushing down a little bit. I just want to leave this for a few minutes so that the bread, the pork cutlets, the sauce, everything pushes together into a firm block. And now here we are, guys, at the beautiful moment of truth. I'm going to take that off. Okay, lift up our sandwich. And I'm going to cut the crusts off on the sides. Now, don't worry about those bits. I will be sure to taste test them once we've done filming. That's a very nice cook's treat. So now we have a nice neat rectangle, the perfect restaurant style shape for our sando. And I just want to cut this into thirds. And let's have a look. Ah, I love it. Beautiful, crispy pork, barbecue sauce. Okay, so just wedge my knife under there and serve that up. And I've just got a little dollop of hot mustard there. I like to kind of spread that on or dip my sandwich in that as I'm eating it. And then I want a little bit of cabbage on the side there. And there we have it, guys. A totally ultimate crispy pork sandwich, that restaurant style Japanese Katsu Sando. And I'm gonna have to taste test, obviously, because, you know, too tasty not to. Something about the way the sandwich is constructed, the sauce, the crispy pork, even the crunchy cabbage, it is all just perfect. If you've got any comments or questions, pop them below. And if you enjoyed the video, why not hit that subscribe button plus the little bell one, and that way you'll get notified every time I release a new video. Thanks, guys.